divided leaders against one another. And if someone is hurt in the line of duty, terror that's been happening on the north side, on the south side, with respect and dignity as we work through these tough issues. Hey, welcome to the Damian Jones Podcast. I'm your host, Damian Jones. So happy for you to be with me again. Got a good conversation that I want to get off my chest today. I saw an article in Newsweek, and I really just had to chew on it with you. And I've seen a couple big headlines this week. And I'm gonna talk about it later on this week. But you saw the headlines around the dysfunction coming out of the vice president's office and the dissension within the White House. You saw the headlines about a new challenger in the Texas gubernatorial race. But I think a more important question to talk about today, folks, is it time for Black America to break up and to end this mercurial, this toxic relationship with the Democratic Party? Is it time, and I really want you to hear me today, is it time for Black America to break up with the Democratic Party? And I want you to hear me because some of you closed-minded people are going to hear this question because you can't think outside of your limits. And so I'm not advocating for with this question to say, well, you need to join another party. I'm not saying that. But I want us to chew on this question for a moment today. Is it time? Is it time? All of us, and I've talked about this before, all of us have been in toxic relationships. All of us have been in relationships that have not been beneficial for us. All of us have been in relationships where things may have started out well, and somewhere along the line, things went awry. Somewhere along the lines, people told you one thing, and those things never materialized. Somewhere in our relationship, somebody lied to us and said that, and they sold us this big dream about the lifestyle they would give us or the things that they would do. And as you get into that relationship and you place your trust into that person, you find out that you met their representative. And the person that you are now in relationship with is not the person who you thought they were. And so from my vantage point, that is the complex, and I'll again say toxic relationship between Black people and the Democratic Party. But here's the crazy thing about it is that Black people have been so demonized, so beaten, so downtrodden, so denigrated within the history of America, and so we attribute love and goodness to pain and destruction. Kind of a Stockholm syndrome, if you will. We know that the Democratic Party doesn't have our best interests at heart. We know this. It's clear. We've seen situation after situation, sign after sign, and we somehow continue to stay loyal to a party that's not loyal to us in any way, shape, form, or fashion. And so the writer of this Newsweek article, this wonderful, brilliant writer, her name is Pamela Denise Long. Look her up. And she writes this opinion piece in Newsweek. And interestingly enough, Pamela is a DEI consultant, national DEI consultant, which she focuses on diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? So this is a Black woman who's concerned about diversity in our communities, inclusion in our workplaces, and equity across the board. So she's very credible with this opinion here. And what she leads with in this article is talking about, and I'll pop this article down in the comments so you guys can read it. But she talks about what is not being talked about from the Virginia elections where Republican Glenn Youngkin and Republican Winsome Sears, a black woman, won in Virginia, is that what people aren't talking about in national media, they're keeping quiet, is that black voters came out and supported Republican Youngkin and Republican Sears at a high level. And what she says is that, here's what she says: the truth is, all is not well between Black America and the Democratic Party, and the November 2021 election night results might very well turn out to be the rumblings of a breakup that is long overdue. That is long overdue, right? And what she talks about is that how Trump was able to speak to black voters during his campaign, during his presidency. And you saw a defection of a lot of black voters leaving the Democratic Party and going to support Trump and the Republican Party. And some folks call that an aberration. And what the writer is saying is that the results from the Virginia election shows that that is becoming a trend where you are going to see more black voters, especially black men, whereas the Democratic Party has shown a great degradation and great disdain for black men. Black men are now going to the Republican Party, right? Or they're saying, I want to be an independent, right? And so this breakup is long overdue. And I'll tell you a few reasons why, from my standpoint. Here's why the Democratic Party continues to spit in the face of black voters. And I'll just speak modern, and I'll talk about some other examples as well. Right. And here we are. Let's start at the top. The Democratic Party had a lot of progressive options for president. They could have chose Mayor Pete. They could have chose what's her name? Can't think of her name now. They could have chose Mayor Pete. They could have chose Beto. They could have chose Cory Booker. They could have chose Elizabeth Warren. That's what I was thinking about. They could have chose Amy Klobuchar. They could have chose Tulsi Gabbard. Tons of other younger, more progressive choices, right? But somehow the party rallied around a problematic figure with a lot of baggage, particularly baggage that connects him directly to deep racist segregationists. So at a time 13 years after we have elected an African-American president, the Democratic Party, who says that it is more inclusive, more equitable, more fair, more welcoming to black voices, elects a man who was trained, his mind was molded by segregationists, who also spoke at the funerals for these segregationists and KKK members. I don't know how you look at black people and say, we want you in our party, but our leader, our president, is a sympathizer of KKK teachings and sympathize with segregationists Strom Thurmond and Robert Byrd. It's well documented. Black people aren't that stupid, and we won't be disrespected in such a way. So that is one reason why this breakup is long overdue, and folks ought to start leaving. Black folks ought to start leaving the Democratic Party. All right. Number two, this recent conversation around reparations. And I've talked about this. Y'all can go back on my page and look at some of the things I've talked about with these reparations. But Joe Biden flip-flopped on whether first the report came out that there will be reparations for the families at the border that were separated at the border to the tune of close to $1 million per family, right? And then his team comes out and he comes out and says that the report is garbage. Then his press secretary says, no, we're going to give the money to those people. But on the campaign trail, Joe could not commit and didn't want to have the conversation around giving African-American people who were separated from their families any sort of reparations. America was founded on the separation of the black family. America is now the biggest, the strongest, the richest nation in the world. And its origin started with separating children from their mother, fathers from their wives, killing, lynching of the black family. Don't we? Is that not separation? Where is the reparation and the financial support for black people who have built this country for free back in the 1800s? And so my question is, but some of you may say, well, Damien, you're so full of it. What are you talking about? There's no other way to go. See, some of you don't have the confidence in yourselves. You think that everything you have to do has to be connected to white people. You think that your worthiness is connected to white people. Your worthiness is connected to the Democratic Party. You're a good person if you're a Democrat, right? But some of you don't have the galls, the balls, the gumption to be a free thinker, to think for yourself, to evaluate issues as it relates to you and your family, to evaluate issues as it relates to putting food on the table, to evaluate issues in a historical basis, to review how this relationship has been treated and has been cultivated over the years. And what we have seen over the years is a continual disdain, a continual, what's the word I'm looking for? Effort to forget about black voters and their needs. Now, if it's not election time, the Democratic Party isn't talking to black people, right? And let's not even get into the conversation around the lack of engagement and care for black men in the Democratic Party. We've heard for the last several years, black women lead. Black women trust black women. You would think that black women are the only people that can lead in black America, right? You would think that black men have just removed themselves from the earth and don't want to be leaders and don't want to be responsible for the direction of their communities and their families, because that's what the Democratic Party has been pushing. They have been pushing this narrative that black men are invisible and women are the best leaders in the world. Women are great leaders, but so are men. And that is the Democratic Party's way to divide and separate the strength of the black family, because they understand when the black family is strong and unified, they probably won't side themselves with this toxic relationship with the Democratic Party. And so my question to you, my friends, is when do we stop begging? When do we stop begging somebody to treat us right? We've been loyal to this party since 19 what? You could say the New Deal. The New Deal brought a lot of black people into the party, and then the Great Society in 1964 pretty much just put all black people into the party when Lyndon Johnson signed this sweeping progressive package to help black people, civil rights packages, financial packages, and folks just automatically came over to the Democratic Party, and we've been stuck there, right? To the point where Joe Biden feels so comfortable to even say, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Because to be black somehow has become synonymous with being a Democrat. And I submit to you today, friends, that no, being black should be synonymous with being a free thinker. Being black should be synonymous with being loud and proud and standing on your own too and standing up proud to be black, right? Dr. Cornel West says that a man can't ride your back unless it's bent. But there are a lot of bent over backs in the Democratic Party. There are a lot of black people that have been screwed by the Democratic Party. But somehow we still remain loyal to a party that has elected problematic people after problematic person after problematic person that does not care about our interests. And again, I'm not advocating for you to be I haven't said that. I'm not saying, listen, if you want to be a Republican, leave the Democratic Party and become a Republican, that's your right and your business. And I support you in doing so if that's where you feel comfortable. But what I'm advocating for particularly is for people to stand on their own. You don't have to be affiliated with any party. You can be an independent. And depending on how the issues line up, you can vote for a Republican. You can vote for a Democrat, depending on how you feel, right? But we cannot build real leverage and power if we have all our eggs in one basket. Look around. Go get in your car today and look around and drive in the hood. Look how bad it looks. Look how decrepit it looks. Count how many rundown buildings you have. Look at the performance of the schools in our neighborhoods. Look at the lack of lighting in our neighborhoods where we don't have safety. Look at the crime rate and the murder rate in our neighborhoods. And often these neighborhoods and these urban cities are run by Democrats. So where has your loyalty to the Democratic Party gotten you? Where has it gotten us? It got us a black president. But now what? We followed up a black president with an anti-black president. So where's the progression there? So don't talk to me about being a progressive. Don't talk to me about progress, because I haven't seen any progress in this party. A lot of symbolism, a lot of, and I'll tell you what Democrats also do. Black folks have associated, again, we've gone through so much pain in our history in this country, beaten, lynched, discriminated against, can't drink out of water fountains, can't ride the bus, all these different things, bitten by dogs. And so Democrats like to always play back to that time in history. This is Jim Crow all over again. Please, there's nothing about what's happening in America in 2020 as it relates to black people that is anything close to Jim Crow. So cut that bullshit out, please. Our world is not perfect. Our country is not perfect, but we ain't getting bitten by dogs anymore, right? We don't have literacy tests anymore. We don't have a poll tax anymore, right? But they like to go back and play on that and say, well, if we don't elect these horrible Democrats, then this is what will happen again. And that is not the case. And so then when they get your vote, you don't hear from them for the next several months. Is it time for black folks to leave this toxic relationship? I saw some things about what's happening with DaBaby and Danny Lee in that relationship. I've seen some other different toxic relationships. Many of you are in toxic relationships right now in your marriages and things of that nature, in your family relationships. And you're like, I just want to leave. I want to get away from it. This is not working for me. I need to be free. Black folks, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen, I'm so fired up. I didn't even put my commercial in there. I put it toward the end. But I use this platform to say stuff that other people don't want to say. Listen, I don't care if people like me. I don't care if people agree with me. I'm going to speak truth, no matter who likes it. And if you don't like it, you ain't got to listen to what I say. Go find somebody else to listen to. But when you're listening to this show, you're going to hear truth and the uncomfortable truths. And the uncomfortable truth is it's time for Black America to break up this toxic relationship with the Democratic Party. It's not productive. It's not healthy. It has done nothing for our families and our communities and our children and our men and our women and the structure of our families. Done nothing. So we ought to leave it. If you want to go be a Republican, I support you. Hey, go do that. If you want to be an independent, hey, I support you. Go do that. But what I am advocating for is that you are a free thinker, a proud person, not allowing yourself to be taken advantage of again and again and again by this disrespectful and ungrateful Democratic Party. Tell me what you think in the comments. Is it time for this relationship to end? Has this relationship been productive? Are the Democrats disrespectful to Black people? And how can we become more free in our mindset and how we matriculate through politics in this country? My God, I sure appreciate each and every one of you. Let me pay these bills really, really quick. Hey, until next time, continue to live your life with intensity, integrity, and intelligence. This is the Damian Jones Podcast.